To Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast where we celebrate the players, coaches, and moments that make Aggie football special. I'm Brock Galvin, and today we've got a great episode for you. This one's hosted by Dwight Smith, and he's sitting down with UC Davis legend Bakari Grant. From game days, Toomey Field, to the Aggie Stadium transition, and then finally to a standout pro career in the CFL. Bakari's story is one of grit, growth, and giving back. They talk about life after football, identity, mentorship, and how the Aggie experience shaped who he is today. And before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed on Spotify for $5 a month. You can also follow the show on Spotify and Apple and subscribe on YouTube. If you enjoy the show, leave us a rating or review. It really helps us grow. And if you're part of the Aggie Network or a business looking to sponsor the podcast, reach out. We'd love to work together. All right, let's get into it. Here's Dwight with Bakari Grant.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Aggie Pride, UC Davis football podcast. I'm Dwight, one of your hosts, and I'm fired up to be joined by someone that's really special to me and special to Aggie football, a UC Davis football legend, a pro footballer, a businessman, an entrepreneur, a father, so many other things. Someone that I looked up to as I was coming in to play football at UC Davis. We are joined by none other than Bakari Grant. Bakari, welcome to the program.
Man, thank you so much. And again, same it's good to be back with you, Dwight. Love watching the podcast and all the stuff you and Brock have going on with the program. I think it's amazing to, bring the legacy of Aggie football together in a space where, we feel like we can have these personal conversations and learn so much more about the folks that really built the program and everything like that. And obviously, you being a brother of mine, going through the program with me, I got the opportunity to see your work ethic and how you approach the game. And I can say true testament to Aggie football. And I don't think anyone better to do this podcast other than yourself and Brock. So really appreciate you having me on.
Man, you're gonna get me emotional before we even start. I mean, hearing that from you means a lot. The flowers are returned, and we'll get into that because, my experience coming in as a young cat and seeing, how you moved and others moved really gave me a blueprint. And I know your blueprint comes obviously from your experiences in football, but from so much more. And that's the heart of the podcast as well, is that there are stories that are powerful behind, all the guys that we played with, guys that paved the way for us, and the young cats that are, potentially considering becoming Aggies in the future. And so we always want to start there. Bakari, I was looking at your Instagram bio, and it struck me. So I'm going to read it now because I think it kind of talks to this bigger picture. Bakari's Instagram bio is Oakland raised me, football made me, now business is my business, breaking the mold. And so part of what we like to do is go back to the beginning. When you talk about Oakland raised you, football made you, and I'm sure there's other things in there. So take us back, man, to the beginning of your background, the beginning of your relationship with the game of football, and how that, wove its way to you ending up attending UC Davis and becoming a UC Davis Aggie.
Yeah, man, it's been interesting since kind of stepping away from the game, and really, obviously, I was up in Canada and traveling all over, so I didn't really have kind of this hub, this home where I was able to connect with as many Aggies. But being back over the past few years and being able to connect with some of the older Aggies, even some of the younger guys that came up after. That have graduated since. Guess we're not that young anymore. But to hear the stories, I think everyone has a pretty similar story about UC Davis football, which I think is interesting. We don't know how the heck we got there, right? It just, somehow the stars aligned where we ended up in this beautiful place called Davis with the cows and all the great legends of football, knowledge and football game history. So Kind of to start back at the beginning, like you said, grew up in Oakland. It was normal. It was a interesting time looking back now, but for me, it was just the normal way you grow up in any city. You find things that resonate with you. You try to, as a young boy, stay out of trouble as much as possible. And one of those ways for me early on was football. My older brother played, so he was, the person that I looked up to as a mentor and kind of my hero as far as the game is concerned. So he played football, so I was going to play football. I remember going out one summer with my brother who's just older than me, Umi, and we went out to football trials for the Oakland Dynamites, which anybody from Oakland, that's the team to play for, not the Saints. Whack. But we went to this tryout. I was 7 years old, and basically they told me I was too young to play. I had to come out the next summer, so I got to sit around for a year. Pretty upset about that. But as soon as I turned 8, jumped into the game. I would say my first tryout was probably a epitome of my entire career. I wasn't the most athletic kid. I was a little big and oversized, didn't know much about football as far as the actual game. But I knew I was going to play. I knew I wanted to, hit people, and I was going to do anything I had to do to make the team, and that's what I did. I remember the coaches watching me in warm-ups like, man, why are you going so hard? This is just warm-ups. And I just loved being out there. I loved playing the game. I loved the smell of the grass. I loved everything about it. So that's been true throughout my entire career. That's how I've made it to any level that I've ever played at. It's just I'm going to be the guy that's going to put in the work to make it happen. May not be the most talented, may not be the biggest, may not know the most about football, but I'm going to work my butt off and make it happen. And that's the foundation of my football career. Was that first year they put me at center. I was taller than all the other kids. They're like, hey, you don't know how to catch a ball or throw a ball, but we can put your hand in the dirt and you can hit people. So it worked out, and true to learning the game and understanding the game. Now I know why I ended up at center. I like talking to people and telling people what to do, and anybody that knows a good center is the quarterback of the offensive line and really the core of moving things. So that's where I learned the game. I started there, worked out every position on the offensive line, ended up at tight end right before I left Pop Warner. And as soon as I got into an end zone, I knew it was no going back from there. So went into high school and played receiver, got moved to quarterback. Brilliant high school coach, Fred Sims, went to a really small school, and he adapted the game to the players that he had. And our quarterback didn't show up for summer camp sophomore year, so he threw me in at quarterback because he knew I would study the game and I'd be committed to the team. And so I played quarterback and linebacker of all things. And then I had a nose for contact since I was 8, and I think it carried throughout my career. But in high school, moved from linebacker to free safety, had some success there. And I saw you had Coach Lou on the other day, Coach Bronson, and I told him, I was like, man, I should have came over to your side of the ball. I probably should have been playing safety. I play receiver like safety. I like the contact. So, that was high school. Played quarterback, and and then ended up at Davis. I knew I wanted to play receiver, but that's a whole nother story. So I don't know if you have any other questions before we jump into that. But
Well, I was just trying to keep track of like which positions you didn't play heading into to when I met you, and a lot of what you shared makes sense of the player that I when I first came and was walking on is like the whole piece around contact, the blocking aspect of being a receiver, the communication aspect of kind of being that quarterback of the offense and being a center. It all clicks now with like my early perceptions of you. So that's pretty cool to hear.
yeah, my love for food comes from those early days.
Oh man, that's amazing. So let's keep it rolling, because then, however you end up at Davis, you do end up at Davis, and talk about that a little bit of, you're bringing all these experiences, different positions, different coaches, different mentalities, and then you're coming from Oakland to Davis, California, a bit of a transition from my
Just a little
perspective, to
bit.
say the least. And so talk about like, that transition for you, both as a young person going to UC Davis, but then also from the football perspective, like finding your identity, as an Aggie.
Yeah, I'll say, well, my experience at Davis really started before I got there. Interesting enough, I had knew I needed to get out of Oakland. It was pretty bad times for, folks who look like me, my age. I think in 2005 to 2000, or excuse me, 2000 through 2005, I think we had the highest death rate per capita with a target demographic of an 18-year-old black male. So I knew immediately I had to get out of there. And so college was a pathway that, all my siblings had been to college. Mother and dad went to UC Berkeley and graduated. And so I knew it was college. I just didn't know where I was going. And so, funny enough, I'm getting recruited by the University of San Diego with Jim Harbaugh. Josh Johnson was there. I think they're looking to bring me in kind of to back him up as a quarterback athlete type of player. And so I'm in conversations with University of San Diego. I also started having conversations with Coach Gangarello, who was recruiting me at the time. And I was a late recruit. Like I said, small school, just sent my tape out to everybody. It was, horrible film on a VHS. I remember it was this red VHS that I was sending out at the time. And so I get this phone call and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you up for a visit, for an official visit. I know it's late in your recruiting, but we really like to have you at the school. And so we'd like to bring you on a visit. And I'm in deeper conversations actually with the University of San Diego at the time. So I'm thinking I'm on the phone call. And this is, by the way, this is a house phone, right? We didn't have cell phones with caller ID. So I'm like, come up to San Diego. I'm like, do they know I'm in the Bay Area? Like, what the heck are they talking about? So end up setting it up, getting an email from Davis, from Coach Gangarello. That's like, hey, coming up to Davis, here's your train ticket, blah, blah, blah. So I put two and two together, end up at Davis on a recruiting trip with Tommy Hernandez and some other good folks. But had a great time. One of my big brothers that kind of helped me through my early days of the program, Brandon Quinn, took me on my recruiting trip. So I had a great time with those guys. And I ended up really enjoying my time with the people. It wasn't, this crazy atmosphere. It wasn't this huge stadium. Obviously, we were still at the Tomb. But the culture of the people was in alignment with people I like to be around. So really enjoyed that time. And then kind of made a decision like, okay, I want to go to Davis. I'm here. I really want to get this amazing degree from a UC. And Davis, obviously, now I think people have caught on, but amazing school, amazing network of folks. So I get into conversations with Coach Biggs. I'm like, hey, I need a scholarship, man. Like I can't afford to come up here and pay this tuition. My mom has 5 kids. She got 3 in college at the time. So Biggs is like, man, we like you, but Biggs likes his athletes, right? He likes a guy who's athletic. And I haven't seen film on you playing receiver. He tells us, I'm like, all right. He's like, well, do you play any other sports? I'm like, yeah, I'm a four sport athlete. I ran track, played basketball, played football, and played volleyball for 3 years. And so he's like, man, do you have any basketball film you could send up? I'm like, yeah, no worries, coach, I got you. So my basketball film, like I said, I'm a contact guy. And, so I played basketball to kind of stay in shape and work on my athleticism. And I was 6'4", so I had the height to do it. But all I did in basketball was I was the rebound guy and I was dunking on people. And I probably had just as many technical fouls as I had dunks in my senior year. So I, still brought that physicality. So I sent him my basketball film, which is legitimately just dunks, blocks, and rebounds. And so it was just me jumping all over the gym. He was like, all right, I think we could do something with you. So ended up getting a scholarship through my basketball film.
That's
So
crazy. That's amazing. Shout out to Coach Biggs, man. Finding a
yeah,
way. Finding a
hey,
way.
Coach Biggs is definitely knows how to find the gems, and he's not afraid to look in some uncommon places to find great athletes. So respect to Bobby Biggs.
Shout out to Biggs. So your basketball film gets you into Davis. And it was that, and then the relationship with the guys. You talked about Tommy, you talked about Brandon Quinn, and so then you show up and start to integrate into the squad and find your spot. Um, I think that's a great spot to like shift to your you know career at Davis, and people know the highlights, right? Most people know about Hail Bakari. Want to talk about that a little bit. I fondly remember some of those amazing middle screens, man. That was your jam. But there was so much else, and those years and you being kind of one of the go-to guys developed. But take us back to the earliest times, and then from there take us through your journey, and reflections on your experience on the field, but then just in general, as you think back now, as I got some gray hairs. We're not as young anymore, but like as I get further
At
away,
least you
I have,
still got the hair, brother.
yeah, I didn't want to say it, man. I didn't want to say it. But you reflect back on those short 4 years, and it takes on new meaning as we get older. So just take us through that a bit.
Yeah, so I'll kind of jump through the years as best I can with the short story for kind of every year. But so one of the best things for me, I came in when we were transitioning from D2 to 1AA at the time, and now sub championship subdivision. But my first spring game that I came up to, I got to meet Chris Carter, who is one of my brothers, and just one of the people that helped me get through that Davis experience, and so grateful to have had that friendship, that relationship, and him as a brother for the period of time that I did. But came up, got to meet Chris in the spring game. We immediately one hand catches on the sideline, tiptoe touches, and I mean this is before we even into the school. So we just had a natural chemistry and a natural appreciation for the love for the game and just developing as people and as players. Anybody that knew Chris knows how much he loved the game and developing as a person. But got to meet Chris, so that was a really big thing for me. Like you said, coming from Oakland into a new environment, demographic completely different than back in Oakland, but to have someone close to me that I had a relationship already coming in with was amazing, and then got to spend 5 years really going on this journey with Chris as kind of my partner in crime on the field. But another thing that Davis did really good when I was coming into school was they paired us up with a roommate prior to coming to school. So we get to camp and, we link up with these guys who they set us up with, thought we might, have some commonalities with. And fortunately, they room me with Kim Snowden. And anybody that knows Kim is, a bright light from a really dark place as well, and an amazing human being. So we get connected before campus. All right, you bring the fridge, I'll bring the microwave. You bring this, I'll bring that. And mind you, this is again is in 2000, 2001. So we didn't have like Facebook or any social media where we can connect. So, I'm thinking, all right, I got this safety guy. I don't know. It's a dude named Kim. What's this going to look like? How's he going to act? And for those who don't know Kim, Kim is a 6'1", 215, 210-pound dude from Pasadena. He comes up, Jabot jeans, the culture that I really understood and knew, and we instantly clicked, instantly started having each other's backs in all these different situations that we were going through in this new environment. But mind you, Kim was a safety. I ended up with another roommate, Jeremy Scott, who was a cornerback. Anthony Sampson, who was a safety, Kenny Brown, who was a corner. And our core group was really probably 90% DBs that I end up hanging out with. And that's Davis. I would be surprised if there's anybody, that played football at Davis that didn't have a close relationship with someone from the other side. And I think that was pretty intentional, because I think they liked the fact that when we went back to the dorms or to the apartment, they knew we were chipping each other. We were going back and forth a little bit, which made our competition level heightened. So I think they did an amazing job at that coming into Davis. And then our big brothers. My big brother was Tony Kays at the time. Great, obviously, UC Davis receiver. hold a ton of records, Hall of Fame, all those things. So Tony Kays really showed me how to approach the game, how to develop as a receiver, as a player. Brilliant mind on the field. For those that know Tony, he basically lived the choice route. That was pretty much every route for Tony. You either run a dig, a out, a post, a corner, and you're reading the defense, which meant you had to be able to read on the fly and make those adjustments. And Tony was a brilliant mind at doing that and having that chemistry with Tim Plow, John Grant, and all those guys. So really had the opportunity to be brought up under an amazing group of receivers. I mean, Tony Kays, Kel Turner, Blaze Smith, Yaklovich. We had Daniel Fells was at tight end, Aaron Hines. Just a really good, obviously, history at the position. But these guys were bringing us up. And, I mean, then we had me, we had Chris Carter, Brandon Rice, Connor Kirkpatrick, Fuchimama, Kyle Light. We had such a dynamic room, and it was a true testament to the history of Davis offense. You know, the four vertical offense was historic at the time. We had the West Coast offense history. So coming in and learning the game was big at Davis, and that was really an epitome to my experience at Davis, was learning to learn the game.
Yeah, and hearing you talk about the Tony Kays choice route, and I'm having flashbacks to how many times like you were incredibly successful over the middle or on down the seam, in the years that I came. And so I'm curious to, obviously you're learning from these incredible guys, finding your spot. And then for different players, it happens at different times. But then there's like, as the years progress, more of a leadership component that you grow into or step into. And that can be playing time. You're in the starting lineup, and it can be off the field stuff. And that's kind of where I come into your story. And one of my first impressions of this guy, Bakari, was, I think it was that first winter ball and then spring ball that I was walking on, was like, he's not going to say a ton, but this dude is about the work. He's also not giving out free hugs, but he might give you like a pointer, off to the side, or like a quick note about technique. And that was like my experience with you. So I just want to ask you about the leadership component, and as you grew through your time at Davis, how it shaped or helped develop your sense of what leadership looks like and what your leadership looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's almost a dialogue about the current environment of college football, the transfer portal. When guys aren't satisfied with the situation, I think that's a worse reason to transfer out. I think that there's obviously opportunities and life-changing opportunities for some of these kids that you want them to take advantage of. But one of the components that I think was vital to my growth in the game was we had to earn it, right? I was a red shirt. I came in, thought, oh, man, I'm so athletic. I can play the game. Why aren't they giving me the shine that I'm looking for? And it was, you have to earn it. I don't care if you have the talent, if you think you look the part, you have to put in the work, and you have to be able to get the results, which meant that when you're not good enough, get better. And for me, that was one of the biggest lessons I had in life. Funny story I'll share is how I got on the field. Most people don't know this story. So I came in as a receiver. Me and Chris came in the same year. We redshirted. And pretty much we come out of redshirt year, and Chris is in the game. He's starting. He has his position. He's locked in. So, of course, I'm like, man, that's my boy. I want to be on the field with him. And at the time, I mean, like I said, we had other amazing receivers in our room. So it wasn't like there were no open spots. You had to take a spot, which means you have to be able to get results. And so, I was like, okay, well, hey, if it's special teams, I'm going to jump in on special teams. If it's blocking, I'm going to jump in and block guys. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get on the field. And so after working my butt off, I'm a little frustrated, right? And I'm like, man, I got to get on this field. And I'll tell this to any young kid or anybody looking to get in a position of leadership or the role that they think belongs to them, is you have to go take it. It's not going to be given to you. And if you take that mentality into it, you're going to improve, you're going to get better, and you're going to find ways to take what you want. And so we're sitting on the sideline. We're playing, I believe it's Western Washington, the first game of the season. And I think this is my redshirt sophomore year. And I'm sitting on the sideline. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. I'm like, man, I got to get in the game. I got to get in the game. I'm not getting a shine. And we get maybe halfway through the game, maybe a little bit less. And Nero Evero is the safety at the time, but he's on special teams. I think he's the R1, which means he has containment and he can't let anything get outside of him. So we get halfway through the game. Nero taps his helmet, which means I need a break. I need my backup to get in. I wasn't Nero's backup. I didn't care. I saw it, so I was like, hey, I got you. I ran on the field, didn't ask no questions, no permission, no nothing. I didn't even know what his responsibilities were at the position. All right, R1, I line up. And I mean, Dwight, I'm so fired up at this point. I'm like, I'm in a game now. It took me 3 years to get, I'm in a game. So we kicked the ball off. And when I tell you, I sprinted my butt off faster than I probably ever sprinted since then. I got down the field and I was maybe and I'm being generous here, I would say 20 yards minimum ahead of anybody else. And I completely whiffed on the returner. And look, I dove inside at his ankles and just airball, man. I was supposed to have containment. He got outside. He got an extra 15, 20 yards on us. And I come to the sideline and coach is just ripping into me. And I'm just like, hey, look, I had to get on the field. And I'm not going to call anybody out for this because we got into a little bit on the sideline. I'm going back like, hey, I'm working my butt off. I was the first one down the field. And he's like, you didn't do your job. And I'm like, hey, man, you said it's about effort. I gave effort. And so, we get into it and I have to end up apologizing after the game. But they basically, I don't play the rest of the game, obviously. And we get to film room on Monday. No lie to you. I'm walking in the film on Monday. I see Biggs in the hallway. And Coach Biggs say, man, Bakari, what position do you usually play on kickoff? And I was like, yeah, Coach, I think I was playing R3 at the time. And, I was supposed. He's like, man, you were out of position. You're in R1. You're supposed to have containment. He's like, but boy, I tell you what, you got down that field 15 yards faster than anybody else. So we found you a spot on kickoff. And I get into the special teams meeting. They got my name up on the board. I'm starting on kickoff now. And that's the way I got on the field. That was the start of my Aggie career. And, no better way than to sneak my way on the field and completely screw it up. But that was the start of Aggie football for me.
That's amazing, man. And I believe I know exactly which coach you're talking about. We don't have to name names. But I can envision that dialogue on the sideline.
Yeah.
But that point is spot on, man. I mean, you have to go get it, and can't wait and sit and wait for, something to be given to you.
That's right.
And I think that's a good lesson just in life, not only in football. There's so many memories, I think, if we had more time to take us, through like the highlights, the lowlights of your experience. But I would just, ask you about that Hail Bakari moment. Take us back to that play and then take us through that a little bit. And then maybe a final reflection on your experience at Davis and, what you think it taught you and prepared, because then next I want to go into talk a little bit about what came next, your pro career.
Yeah, absolutely. So two quick points I can't miss on here that happened before the Hail Mary catch. The first one was my first catch at Davis. This is again kind of back to earning what's not given to you. Is my first catch was actually from Tim Plows, a 10-yard speed out, and it was the fourth quarter, I believe, of a Montana State game. Where in this blizzard, we're beating them, I think, 41-0, or we're blowing them out. And I get the call, they're like, Bakari, you're in, and I'm like, oh man, I'm freezing on the sideline. Yeah. And then the first play they call is a speed out, and I'm just like, oh man, okay, it's a 10-yard speed out. I'm trying to, speed cut in the snow, freezing cold. And I do the stiffest speed route you've ever seen. Tim throws the ball low. I dive down and catch it, and that's my only catch for the game. And that's my ode to Coach Plow, is first catch in my career from Plow. And then the second one I'll mention real quick, I give a shout out to Danny Alfaro. Again, one of the greatest quarterbacks in UC Davis history.
That's right.
On and off the field, probably more off the field legend. No, but he gave me this his first touchdown pass, which he always credits me for. And I tell people, yeah, well, he only threw it 4 yards. So it was a middle screen, like you mentioned,
San
that was
Jose.
ran 51 yards. So his first throw and catch was a 51-yard touchdown. So shout out to Danny Alfaro, my brother.
That was San
Um,
Jose State, right?
San Jose State, that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So the Hail Mary catches is another funny story because look, I had for my last 2 years had suffered from a really bad turf toe and bunionitis, and the reason I bring that up is because we had driven the ball down, we had come back, we had lost like I think 3 games in a row by less than 2 points, and so we were down by I believe 1 point. We needed a field goal. And so we're driving down the field. We get the ball up to, I think it's 40-yard line or something like that. It's going to be a 42-yard kick. I think Sean Kelly was a kicker at the time. So we had confidence that we were going to boot that thing. He had a leg on him. So we're like, all right, we're going to get it. So I run off the field. I got to give my bunion some relief, man. So I kick my shoe off, take the helmet off. I'm standing on the bench, waving the towel, getting ready to get this field goal in. And we get ready to snap the ball, and I forget who, I won't even mention the name. One of our tight ends jumps off sides, and credit to them. I owe them one of the best, plays in UC Davis history, but they jump offside. And so we get it just outside of what we believe we can make as a field goal. So we're like, all right, call everybody else up. We're going Hail Mary. So after the penalty, we run on the field, and they say, offense, we're back up. We're doing a Hail Mary. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to kick my cleat back on. So I go to put my shoe on, get my cleat on. I'm running on the field. I forgot my helmet, so I have to run back off the field, grab my helmet, throw my helmet on. By the time I get to the field, they had already broke the huddle. So I'm basically trying to catch all the things. And then, as we mentioned, this I think was my junior year. So we had me, Brandon Rice, I believe it was Sean Critic, Chris Carter at receiver. And so I'm usually the inside guy. I run to the back and I'm playing the tip. And then I think Chris is at the front. He's catching the tip in case it falls in the front. Well, B. Rice is like, hey, Bakari, take this other position. You be the jumper and I'll catch the tip. I'm like, all right, I don't even have time to think about this. So I'm out of position. Mine's all over the place. Greg Denham, ready, set, snaps the ball. We're running down the field and I'm just sprinting. And I don't look back until I hit the end zone. As soon as I look back, I barely catch the ball in my eye. And I'm like, all right, just go up and get it. And so I jump up and I grab the ball. And I can remember the exact picture today. I grab the ball and I just like hold on for dear life. And I get drugged to the ground. And I don't even, it just, my whole spirit gets taken over. Just jump up. I think I launched the ball. It was the celebration of so many close losses that we had gone through over the past few weeks that it was just we finally broke it and we won this game, and it was massive. It was huge. But funny story, Coach Gangarello, he's up in the booth usually, so he's obviously pumped. Everyone rushes the field. We all dive all over the place. It's great. Scangarello runs up to me and he's like, Bakari, good job. You know you're supposed to tip the ball, right? And he just like we start cracking up, but it was a surreal moment, man. It was a feeling of just the relief of the entire program. We finally broke that losing streak of having so many close games and not being able to pull it out. So that was amazing.
Yeah, man, I remember that. I was on the sideline and, part of the mayhem afterwards. It's an incredible moment. And oftentimes the moments live on, but it's cool for you to break down like the moments behind the moments. And you refresh my memory about the penalty and getting out of Sean's range. But yeah, it's it's incredible to think back on all these experiences. And for some guys, most guys, after they graduate, the journey ends, the cleats get hung up. And then there's a whole conversation about how do you find these other pieces of your identity. For the few of which you are one, there's the opportunity to extend the journey playing ball. So talk to us a little bit about that for you? I see the ring you're wearing, you're repping the championship ring, and
Calgary Stampeders, baby.
that's right, and that's part of it, right? But
Yeah.
there's this whole journey, man, and I shot in the NFL, and then this long career in the CFL. So, talk to us a little bit about that from the perspective of like, what you thought it would be, what it actually was, what you learned, and then after that, I want to get to what you're doing now because I think these things are all connected. Everything you've learned and all the passions and parts of your identity that you've developed and are still leaning into.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy journey because no one ever tells you, right? Football is a short game, it's a short lifetime, and then as soon as it's over, it seems so far behind you once you get into the real world. Coming out of Davis, fortunately got the opportunity where teams said they were showing interest and I might have the chance to play at the next level, and got the opportunity to work out for a couple of local teams. Unfortunately, my pro day was during finals week, so that was priority over the pro day a little bit, which 2020 hindsight, you changed some things up. But ended up coming out and playing for Singletary for the 49ers, which was, childhood dream come true to play for a local team in front of local crowd and fans, and just an amazing life experience. Taught me a lot about football within my first year, the politics and the behind the scenes, what really goes on, and it's obviously different than what you see as a kid or a spectator. So getting to understand the game on that level was a lifetime of experience, and now fortunately get to raise my kids and teach them some of the nuance of pro sport and what it really takes to get there. Some of the best things that I gained from that experience, though, were the people that I met in the locker room, their work ethic, how they approach the game, their mentality towards not just football, but life. I tell people all the time, if you're going into a pro sports locker room, find the guys who've been there for 5, 10, 15 years and find their shadow and stay in it. It's if they're in the locker room at 5:30, you're in the locker room at 5:30. If they're watching film at 2 o'clock after practice, you need to be watching film at 2 o'clock after practice. If they're catching 200 balls, you need to be catching 200 balls. And that was an experience and a lesson that I didn't gain until later in my pro career. Because sometimes you don't want to step on toes. Sometimes the dynamic of the locker room is, this is my job and you're here to take my job. So, I can't give you everything. You're going to have to come in and take some things. And I think that was an experience that, you have to learn young and you have to learn early in the pro game, but teaches you a lot about life, about business, about, entrepreneurship or anything you get into after life, is that, there's people who have done it for a long time, and find those guys and make sure they give you some of the secret sauce, either by being close to them or by, asking them questions. So that was big early in my career. Then going up to the CFL, obviously another great Davis connection. Kahari Jones was my first offensive coordinator. Got to play under him and learn some great things about the game. One of the biggest experiences I have from the CFL is I had an 8-year career up there, and I went to the Grey Cup 4 times, and I lost the first 3 times, and all different ways. The first time we had a brand new coach. We were renovating our stadium, so we were outside of our home stadium, which means we had a full season pretty much of away games. We had a new coaching staff. We had a patched together team from the year before. And we ended up making the Grey Cup just on camaraderie and connection and being there for each other. And when we got there, we had no business being there, and we got our butts kicked pretty much. But taught us a lot, gave us that experience, went back the next year. And ultimately, we lost on a punt return that we returned for a touchdown where we would have won the game. And they called a holding penalty on one of our guys. So heartbreaking loss there. And then that was kind of the last year of that group. So ended up going to Calgary a couple years later. Had one of the best teams I probably ever played on the field, on paper, on season. I think we went 16-2 that year, which was a record at the time, and basically were favorites in the Grey Cup. Didn't have a great first half, and ended up fighting back and losing in overtime to obviously another great team, which was heartbreaking. And then Fast forward, I'm semi-retired, started some businesses. We still love the game, but was at the place where, I wanted to be on the right team in the right environment with the right coaching staff, and came down to basically the last 2 weeks of the season. I ended up getting picked back up by the Stampeders, went ahead and won a couple of games in the regular season, went to playoffs, and then ultimately ended up winning the Grey Cup. And I know we're short on time, so I'll save you that story. But I wasn't supposed to play in that Grey Cup, but ended up kind of implementing all the things that I had learned in my career to work my butt off and show the coaches that I deserved that opportunity. So fortunately, Pete Costanza, Dave Dickinson, the coaches at the time, thought that it was the right thing to do to get me in that game, and they did, and ended up winning and, wrapping my career up with a Grey Cup win, a championship win, and, it taught me a ton about life and the things that I'm experiencing now and kind of post-career, post-football career.
Well, I think, I can go a couple minutes over because I think this next piece I really am inspired by. And it's cool to hear the connection between that story about Western Washington and you just getting out there on the field, and how that, like, finding a way to get on the field even showed up at the end of your career at that final chance to get a Grey Cup, which was successful. But you were an architecture major, I think, right, at Davis.
Interior architecture, that's right.
Interior architecture always had an art component, the business, the entrepreneurship. And so now, after retiring with the ring, talk about what you're up to now. I've had a chance to look a little bit at, it and know the deep family connection and the inspiration for your work, and also saw you on the stage during the NBA All-Star Week. Winning some pitch competitions, and there it is.
Yeah.
In the locker room, you talked about getting in the locker room and hanging out with the right people. So I want the folks to be able to hear about Wellnest and kind of the mission there, and how that brings together all these things, your experience as an Aggie, who you are as a person, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. I mean, so again, once I retired, I got into business. Always been an entrepreneur. Call it a hustler. When you're playing the game, but always found a way to incorporate business into what I was doing. And so when I retired, we started a private art club, and then ended up selling that, fortunately, right before COVID. And we sold it because we started a business around senior housing and senior health care after our dad suffered a debilitating stroke, and we weren't satisfied with the options that were out there as far as housing and care for our aging demographic. And so Wellnest is a holistic solution for aging in place and our senior demographic. We've expanded out to really put an effort into providing more dignified housing for our veterans and individuals with disabilities as well. Ultimately, we've designed a home that facilitates independent living as long as possible. We incorporate technology and safety features that allow our loved ones to be safe and feel dignified in the home that they're living in, while also giving family members and their healthcare providers that peace of mind that they're not going to be vulnerable to injury and illness. So, very close to my heart and my family's heart, but we've recently expanded now, have made some amazing partnerships. It's a shout out to football and understanding that, when you come together as a team, you can usually have a much bigger impact. And so we've now partnered with a few counties throughout the Bay Area and Central Valley to bring what we call tiny home communities together. Anywhere ranging from 15 units on a property up to 150 units is our largest project, where we're deploying our homes, partnering with care providers, and really redefining how we look at senior housing, senior care, as well as veteran housing and the care services, the wraparound services that are needed to support our veterans after they serve our country, come home, and really look to us for support. So Wellnest is, again, we're at a pivotal point where we're really scaling up our business. We have some major projects coming down with the San Joaquin County Veteran Services offices, We have a big project coming down the line with that. So, true to what we've been talking about, I've connected with Bruce Edwards, who's a big supporter of a program, great developer down in the San Jose area, and really just have connected with a ton of people. Daryl Goss has been a great resource for me as well. But what we ask is that, this isn't a nonprofit effort. This is a for-profit business solving a problem that exists in the world. And we're coming together with as many people as possible to do it because it's a massive issue that we're trying to tackle. So anyone that's in the real estate space, development space, interested in providing different care options and opportunities for our seniors or our veterans, would love to have conversations or to participate and work together to, solve this massive issue.
Man, kudos and appreciation, man, to you and to the Wellness crew and your families involved in that effort. The story resonates for me, having folks in my family, and I think it resonates for everyone, right? Because
That's right.
whether it's a grandparent right now or your parent, or someone, a loved one, that senior care problem is huge. And so the fact that you're in the space of innovating and coming up with new solutions, we'll make sure to have information about Wellnest and linked in this episode for folks to check it out. And like Bakari said, it does take a team effort. So we'll make sure we have your information as well, so that folks can reach out with questions or that are interested in supporting
Absolutely.
the effort. We got to wind down, so we're going to have to do a part two, Bakari, because there's just a lot of places that we didn't get to go that I want to go. But for the purposes of this episode, I want to give you the final word. Just thinking about the folks that listen, right? We've got alums, guys that played, we've got coaches, we've got parents, we've got fans. And so a final word from you, message to folks that are just now starting to follow UC Davis football, even as we think about the amazing season that the team had last year and what Coach Plow is and the boys are preparing even now at fall camp for the 2025 season. I want to give you the last word.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a couple of things. Number one is connection, right? Is the support and connection within the UC Davis network, not just amongst the athletes and the football players, but the fans, the students, the alumni, has been amazing. I know Coach Plow's been doing a great effort, had a great effort with Josh Flushman and the staff there to get people out to the games. Extremely fun environment, obviously, to be a part of. It's a family environment that I love that they built up there. So I'll say connection is a huge thing, especially for us ex-athletes, right? We lose the locker room, we lose that camaraderie, that brotherhood. It's always great to come back and have a network and a family to come back to. But the last piece is right there on my hat, Shredville. I love what Coach Plow is doing there. He's about taking shots. He's about building a program that is built on winning and doing it the right way. And I just absolutely love and support everything that they have going on. So anybody that's interested or has, to kind of put their toe in the water back into Aggie football or into the games, I would say jump full in because this is a program that's going up and it's exciting to watch. So just connection.
Well, you heard it here. Bakari, man, I appreciate you so much. I've always looked up to you and continue to do that. I'm so grateful for your leadership and legacy, and what you're continuing to do. Like it's the headline is it's bigger than football. And there's no better example, I think, someone that's accomplished really the heights of what you can in the game, but is continuing to figure out how to have an impact and doing it at a high level. So appreciate you, my brother. Can't wait to see you at a game this year, and get you back on the pod when we can.
Absolutely. And Dwight, I'll say it again. I appreciate you so much. I don't think there's a better group to steward these stories forward than you and Brock. I think what you guys do around the Aggie family, around the football program, but just in general around Davis, I think you guys represent the culture so well. And I look forward to watching this journey because it's going to be a big one for you. So I appreciate you.
Likewise, man. All right.
All right, brother.
Peace.
Thanks to Bakari Grant for joining us and to Dwight for holding it down and leading an honest and powerful conversation. That's what Aggie Pride is all about: connection, impact, stories that help shape us. And if you haven't already, hit the follow button on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch the full interview on YouTube. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your crew. We've got more great episodes coming, stories from players past and present, reporters, and everything in between. And again, if you want to partner with the pod as a sponsor, just reach out. We'd love to have you on board. And until next time, thanks for listening. And as always, go Ags.